Hey everybody, welcome back to Gideon Stuff. Today we're taking a look at the SOG Survivor's Edge. Before we do that, a couple of things, couple of business items to get to. Number one, and most importantly, this is the first review that I am filming with my new phone. So let me know what you think. Tell me how it looks. We're still trying to figure out exactly what I want to be doing with this, but yeah, any feedback is welcome. Second order of business. This knife came from a holiday gift pack that SOG had out at the end of 2024. And this knife was listed on their site for a while, and that's why I decided to go ahead and give it a full review. I can't find it on their site anymore, so that makes me think that this was probably a one and done deal for the holidays. However, these are readily available on the secondary market, and they're not super expensive. So if you really want to get one after watching this video, you can absolutely find them. Okay, with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and get this review started, as always, with a blade length measurement. So our blade length here, if we're going all the way back to the scales, is even less than 2.5 inches. Sharpened edge is kind of hard to measure just because of how aggressive this belly is, but we're going to say, 2.25 inches. It's probably more than that. It's probably close to about 2.5 inches of sharpened edge. So this is not a very big fixed blade at all. And speaking of fixed blades, oh my goodness, I think this is the first fixed blade review that you guys are going to be seeing in 2024, but it will not be the last. 2025, not 2024. Dang it. 2025 is going to be the year of the fixed blades. I can tell you guys that. All right, let's go ahead and do some size comparisons. Starting us off, as always, with our rats. Yeah, this is not a very large knife at all. Holy cow, blade on that thing is dirty. Yeah, not a large fixed blade whatsoever. Should we do comparisons against all the regular folding knife? Yeah, we'll do all the folding knives. Here it is against the Civivi Elementum 2. Here it is against the Civivi Praxis. Yeah, it's not a big knife. USA made comparisons. We've got the Spyderco PM2 and the Benchmade Bug Out. Sweet. And let's go ahead and do a comparison against a couple of fixed blades. First up, here's a fixed blade that was in the pack with this knife. This is the SOG field knife. This one is a regularly offered model from them. Review coming soon. And here is against the Mora Basic. And I think that's going to be more than enough on our size comparisons. Okay, let's talk about materials. Nothing special here, as you might expect. But we have a blade made out of 5CR steel. Yeah, not amazing. This is a drop point shape. We have plastic scales, full tang. We have this very long 550 paracord wrap lanyard. And we have a basic injection molded sheath. All right, let's go cut some stuff. Hey guys, you ready to do some review cutting before I get snowed on? I sure am, so let's do it. Today we're doing review cutting for the SOG Survivor's Edge, as you probably already knew. So let's go ahead and jump right into this review. Let's start off with the ergonomics. Very interesting ergos. Kind of a rainbow-shaped handle. I guess it's an arch. We've got some jimping down here. We've got a little bit of jimping up here. I think this is plastic scales. And then we've got this little paracord wrap. Kind of an interesting paracord wrap, to be completely honest with you. But you grab like that, and I can't lie, feels all right. It feels all right in the hand. I do enjoy that quite a bit. So as far as a small fixed blade of this type goes, feels good in the hand. Nothing to talk about with the action, so let's go ahead and talk about the carry. Here's the sheath. It's plastic. It's got this little clip. Not the greatest sheath, and you guys have probably already heard my story about how I
drop this in a toilet, but you can kind of, sort of, theoretically put it on your belt. Gosh, that clip is tight. There we go. And then there it is. While I've been carrying this, actually, I haven't been carrying it here. I've been carrying it more like here. But now it's on my belt, and there's it's gonna stay for a little bit. Wow, when you don't want it to come off, it falls in the toilet, and when you do want it to come off, it refuses to relinquish its grasp on your clothing. I mean, I don't even know. I might be inclined to say, yay, it holds onto your belt real good, if I hadn't dropped this thing in the toilet. There we go. There we go. Anyways, there's where I've been carrying it. Pretty easy access. The retention in the sheath is fine. You've got a little push off here on the sheath, which I appreciate. But yeah, there we go. Okay, let's go ahead and cut some stuff. So we've got a very stubby, stout little drop point blade here made out of 5CR steel. Nothing amazing, nothing incredible, nothing to really lose your mind over. But let's go ahead and see if it will cut. Got some cardboard here. Full flat grind. See if we can get to utility cuts. You've got a lot of belly there, but you can do decent utility cuts. Let's grab a better piece of cardboard. Here we go. It cuts okay. It cuts enough, I guess. Let's go ahead and get our rope out here. Probably going to be the last rope pull that I do with this rope. I need to go and get some more. Ooh, we did not make it through there. There we go. I think that was because we just rolled right off this very bulged edge. Let's go ahead and do some rope pushes. 1, 2, 3. That was not very good, to be completely honest with you. The sharpening on this guy is wonky. We're doing this with a factory edge. I'm sure I can improve this with an edge of my own. But yeah, you can see how uneven that sharpening is. So it's not amazing. Let's go ahead and do the pool noodle. This could be very, very interesting. But let's go ahead and do it. How much? We should be able to. Ooh. Ooh, we're just mushing. Oh goodness. Oh, that felt bad. Yeah, that's a very, very bad factory edge. That thing was doing nothing but binding and snagging going through that foam. So, yeah, not real great. However, this is a fully flat ground blade, and I think it could actually cut fairly well if the edge was decent. So I am going to sharpen. I mean, this is going to be it for review cutting, you know. Out of the box geometry is no bueno, but I will go ahead and do, sharpen this up myself, of course, when I need to, and report back on how the blade cuts after that. So there we go. There's your knife. Let's get back to the table.
And we are back. Let's go ahead and talk about what I'm liking and not liking about this knife. Whoa, I'm still getting used to the new camera, the new focus. Okay, I did a couple of test runs, but this is the full review that I've filmed. So yeah, we're going to see how this goes. Okay, let's just get started with what I'm liking. Number one, this is a very unique looking fixed blade in my opinion. This is very distinct. There's nothing else quite like this out there. And I like that. I'm a sucker for weird, goofy knives, and this definitely falls into that category of weird, goofy knives. However, I do think it's still very, very functional. Let's talk about the ergonomics. Very, very comfortable, actually. I was very worried about these ergos, but the knife actually fills your hand out really well. I love that it has this big bow here in the back that really nestles into your palm really well. Fairly neutral ergos. We've got, some hints of like finger grooves, but very, very comfortable. Almost a pistol grip. Really helps direct that blade. This tip feels like it's right in line with my arm. Just a very good, solid feeling. I wouldn't say this is the most comfortable or ergonomic knife, right? This isn't going to melt in your hand like something similar to the Mora will, but this is definitely a very usable knife. There's, no huge hot spots. There's a couple of, thin edges, but very, very usable in my opinion. So that's always great. The knife is meant to be used. And so if it feels usable, that's a good thing. That did not need to be explained, but there we go. These scales, they are plastic, but I do like the way they feel. And you see here, we've got like these kind of ridges milled in here. Almost looks like ripples in sand, which is very cool. And you can take these off. You can dye these because they're kind of this neutral tan color. So it'll take most RIT dyes pretty well if you want to do that. So there's customization options available. We've got some jimping back here. We've got some jimping up here. I would say this jimping is the most effective jimping on the knife. This jimping could go out further. We'll talk about that more in a little bit. The blade itself, I think this is actually a good blade. It's a full flat grind, which, I always like. You can see here we are robust. This is definitely a robust blade, but it's, thin enough to be slicey enough for most things. We'll talk about the cutting performance more here in a little bit, but there's a lot of things they did right here. The full flat grind, the plunge grind is done very, very well. Despite, you can see last time I sharpened this, I hit up there. Excellent plunge grind. And the blade shape itself is very interesting to me. This is going to be great for skinning. That was one of the first things I thought about with this big belly. But this is also a great EDC shape, especially if you have to like crunch down on a lot of like zip ties or things like that. For any kind of cut where you want to kind of get like a little bit of a rocking motion. I'm not sure how well you can see that rocking motion. This is going to be absolutely fantastic. Yeah, the blade steel is not the greatest, but I do like this blade and it does complement the handle pretty well. The coating also holds up decently well. I have been using this knife. I've used it quite a bit and, we've got some scuffs and some smudges and stuff, but the coating's been holding up a little bit better than I would have guessed. So that's awesome. Next thing, I do kind of like the idea behind this paracord wrap. It's pretty interesting. We got another little point up here so you can, if you really needed to, you could secure the knife in your hand by tying the paracord up to here. Not sure what you'd be doing with a knife of this size that would require that, but you've got it. So that's cool. As for the sheath, the retention is actually decent. I wouldn't say it's the best retention. You can hear it rattles quite a bit. But the knife does stay in there pretty well. They did give you a nice little push-off point for your thumb. Good jimping there. That's something I always appreciate on a sheath, is having easy access like that. You see here, these little nubbins in the sheath is what grabs onto the knife. That's what provides the retention. You see kind of marks up on the blade or on the scales right there. Good positive snap though. Yeah, we'll come back to the sheath in a minute. But yeah, those are the things I like. Let's go ahead and get to the things that I don't like. Number one, this lanyard is a little much. I mean, there's a lot of cord on here. And actually, the lanyard did come untied. While I was using it, it caught on something, just came undone. And I just tied it back into, they basically just had a hangman's noose knot on here. So I just retied it for the purpose of this video to show you kind of like what it is. I think if I were going to be carrying and using this knife as an EDC every day, I would definitely shorten this up because it's just asking to snag on everything in your life. And yeah, I don't really want that. I get it. This is the survivor's edge that kind of has outdoor survival prepper vibes, Paracord, super useful, but for this knife here, I think you could shorten it up quite a bit. And honestly, they do give you the opportunity to carry quite a bit more paracord on here than you would expect, which is, I guess you count this as something good. You know, I do like this system. Having the paracord wrap in the grip is kind of unique. You can swap this out for different colored paracord, you know, more customization items or options, not items, but which is cool. But yeah, I do think that this is a little excessive for this kind of knife. Next thing, yeah, the jimping could definitely come out a little bit further. I would not mind that one little bit. The sheath sucks. This is just straight up doo-doo because of this little thing here. This is non-removable, and it's one of these little J-clip things, which I hate these to begin with. They're just not fun to work with. There's not a whole lot of space in here. If you guys saw my 3 days in video with this knife, you'll know that I dropped it in a toilet because of this sheath. It wasn't in my belt all the way, and I didn't know that. And then, you know, I was dropping my trousers to, you know, drop a deuce, and this thing just fell out and bounced into the toilet. So luckily it was an empty, clean toilet, so, you know, wasn't that big of a deal. But yeah, that's definitely something annoying that you don't want to have to deal with. And having this thing on the back kind of makes it pointless to have these other attachment options. Now, these are not the best options out there. You can rig something up with these, but having this as a permanent fixture on the sheath just makes it difficult to do anything, to carry it any other way. So not a huge fan of that. The sheath itself is a little bit too rattly, you know, things like that. It's a fine sheath for a budget knife, I suppose, but there are a lot of things that really bother me with this sheath. So yeah, if you have one of these, making it a new sheath might be a great option. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about the blade. The out-of-the-box cutting performance on this knife was absolute doo-doo. It did not cut very good at all. Now, it is 5CR steel, so it's easy enough to touch up and, you know, put an edge on there that will work. It's very easy to reprofile, but I want to show you something. So I have sharpened this knife, and it's been abused a little bit more, so this is not a super fresh edge. But you can see on this side, pretty clean, even bevel all the way, right? That's my edge. This is a 20-degree edge. Before I put my edge on, this side ranged from like 19 to 25 degrees all along the edge. I did some CCE measurements. Let me show you this side though. You notice something a little bit funky? You notice how this area is just very wide? This was where the big problem was in the out-of-the-box cutting. And so when I was resharpening this knife, I knew that I was going to have to reprofile this area quite a bit. And I found it very difficult to do. I was having to remove a ton of material. Well, here's why. I took some measurements. We went from about, 19 degrees back here, about 24 degrees up here. This area right here, brace yourselves. Brace yourselves. Measured anywhere between 40 and 42 degrees. Yeah, that's one side, not an inclusive angle. That was this side. Just this area right here was about 40 degrees. I couldn't get an exact measurement because it's kind of a difficult angle to measure. That was about 40 degrees right there. So whoever was sharpening this at the factory just went real wonky trying to go around this big belly. And I get it. This is kind of a weird, it's an abrupt belly and a very, abrupt curve. But yeah, that is an awful, awful angle. And so basically, I was just going to try to reprofile the whole edge. I realized that I'd have to sharpen all the way up to basically right here. And so I just micro beveled right here to the same 20 degrees that the rest of it is at. You can see that right there. So yeah, that is not amazing. And a knife is supposed to cut. It cuts fine now. This knife cuts fine now. Do I have any paper, any sticky notes with me? Not like sticky notes prove anything necessarily as far as cutting performance goes. I don't have any sticky notes, but I do have this little tiny notebook, so we can page out of that. Oh, right in the choil. And yeah, like I said, I have been using this. I do need to sharpen it again. 5CR steel, guys. 5CR steel. Okay, so that was not very helpful. But yeah, there we go. Let's go ahead and move on to the final conclusions. So there are some big issues with this knife. That is probably the worst out-of-the-box sharpening I've ever seen on any knife I've reviewed. I mean, that's just stupid. But that's something that I can fix. You know, the 5CR steel, you know, yeah, the edge retention on this thing is garbage. Like you just saw there. I sharpened this, I don't know, probably a couple weeks ago, but I've only carried it, I don't know, a couple of times since then. Actually, I've got my work sharp right here. Let's show you how easy it is to touch up this 5CR. All right, so yeah, the 5CR does dull very, very quickly, but hit it on a strop a couple of times. And we're going to bring this puppy back to razor sharp. I keep getting that choil. What is wrong with me? Cutting around a camera is also kind of hard, but yeah, there we go. Anyways, maybe that demonstrated something. Probably not. My biggest issue with this knife, honestly, is the sheath, which you can, you know, make yourself a different sheath, so it's not that big of a deal. What do I think about this knife overall? Well, it's very cheap, and so, you know, not making excuses for it, but at a certain price point, negatives become more negotiable. I guess we'll say that. And with this knife here, are the negatives enough to offset the price? Like this came in a set with this knife for 20 bucks or 25 bucks, and this knife alone is like a $20 knife. So this is basically a $5 fixed blade. How does it feel as a $5 fixed blade? Honestly, pretty good. This is definitely an EDC side or an EDC styled fixed blade in my opinion. And there are a lot of things I like about it. I like the unique look. I like the ergos. I like this paracord wrap type of thing. I think that's all interesting. And so there are a lot of things I like about this knife. And I think that honestly, those do kind of outweigh some of the negatives. I mean, the lanyard I absolutely hate, but I can fix that very, very easily. The sheath, I don't really like at all, one little bit. But if I really wanted to carry this knife, it wouldn't be that hard to make a sheath that I do like. The blade is not amazing. You know, that's 5CR steel, that horrible sharpening job. You don't like to see it, but I think those are problems that I can, you know, overcome. So am I going to be carrying this knife a lot? No. And especially compared to some of the fixed blades I've been carrying recently that were sent to the channel by our good friend Zach. Yeah, this is not going to be finding much pocket time. But, you know, if you see one around or something, I think it's a fine knife. Throw in a glove box, toolbox, you know, something like that. It's a cool knife. Or if this is just where your budget is at for knives, I think if you find one of these for a good price, buy it. And if you're good at sharpening, or heck, it's 5CR steel. You don't even have to be good at sharpening. If you just know the basics of sharpening, you should be able to get a lot of good use out of it. So, do I recommend it? It's going to be one of those soft recommends from me. Like, I'm not going to tell you to stay away from it at all costs, but this is probably a knife that most people can pass on. And that's going to be where I leave you guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment below, and subscribe. Big shout out to my channel members at the Cowboy level. I appreciate everything they do. If you want to become a channel member and support the channel directly, there's a link down below. As for the rest of you hooligans, I've been Gideon, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios.